Hey folks, Tim the Toolman here. We're back with Car Show and Tell. Hopefully this is the last part of our air conditioning rebuild series of videos. So let's give you a look at what we're doing right now. So, I have my line set hooked up. Try to get to a spot where you can see the gauges. And held this thing. I had the vacuum pump hooked up, okay, and after some technical difficulties with the gauge set and the vacuum pump, I did manage to get a good vacuum pulled on this thing and got it down to 30 inches of mercury and closed everything off and let it sit there for quite a few hours and came back and kept checking, just watching to see if the needle here moved off of 30 inches of mercury vacuum, and it hasn't budged in quite a few hours. So I'm satisfied with that. I think the system's proven. There's no more leaks, so I can go about recharging this thing. While the vacuum pump was running, I did go about getting everything put back together here, save for my windshield washer fluid tank, just because my service lines are hooked up here and that makes it more of a pain in the ass to get these connectors on and off. So I gave myself a little bit of room to work. Everything else is back together. Car starts and runs. So what we're going to do now, like I said, ran a vacuum pump, proven the system. It held 30 inches of mercury for a few hours, so I'm happy with that. Here, you gonna take this?
Yep. Stand up.
I did not have enough time to go get my big r134a tank, and after I thought about it a little bit, I kind of figured, well, most of the guys watching this, maybe they won't be using the big 134a tank. They'll probably be using little cheater cans like these that you can pick up at Home Depot. Then you'll have to touch it. It's fine. It's just 12-ounce cans of 134A. This system takes 25 ounces.
We've only got two of these. So
I got two 12-ounce cans. I thought I had a partial in the shed, but I don't. So yeah, we're going to charge it with 24 ounces. And
for now.
That'll work for now. I'll trim it. If I need to trim it a little bit later on, I can add another ounce or whatever I need. So at this point, my valves are shut. I have my charge line hooked up to my can. The valve is open, and I have already purged my charge line. Okay?
Twice.
Twisted this open a little bit, let it purge out, closed it back up, or tighten it back up, so that it's not going to leak any more refrigerant. And at this point, I should be ready to start charging the thing. So when I charge, I'm charging vapor. With the can upright, you'll charge vapor. If you flip the can upside down, you'll charge liquid. I usually just charge into the low side and start charging vapor right away. That vacuum's going to pull some in. And
you can kind of hear it.
We can watch the needle climb as our first can starts to charge the system.
Oh, sorry, Dad.
If you want,
focus.
You can also watch me.
I know it's not focusing.
Okay, you focused on the can?
Yeah.
You can flip the can over, charge a little liquid if the car's not running. And once that's in the system, it'll start to break down and evaporate on its own. Okay? We can watch the pressures climb on both sides, and at some point this is going to equal out. The can is going to have just as much pressure as the rest of the system. So in order to get the residual refrigerant that's left in the can, we're going to have to start the thing and start the air conditioning, and that'll get the compressor, hopefully that'll get the compressor running. The pressure in the low side will drop when the compressor kicks on, and it's going to pull more refrigerant out of our can. So for now, we'll let it sit.
Let's talk about those clips.
We'll charge this can.
I think I know where they go.
Okay.
Yep. Pause.
I can't think of anything else to really talk about on his charges. Just want to keep your ears open for any unusual sounds.
Like explosions?
No, you just want to listen for anything that might be leaking.
Okay.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
If you hear anything hissing, then you probably got a leak somewhere.
Should I pause then?
But if you've pulled your system down in a vacuum that's held, then you shouldn't have that problem. So we'll go ahead and pause the system when we're getting ready to start the car. Okay? Alright. Okay, we're back. You can hear me over the sound of the car. I'll turn my light on. So I have my can upright because at this point I do not want to be charging liquid. I want to be charging vapor. And I'm watching the pressure on my gauge. My compressor's running. I can see that my clutch is pulled in. Compressor's turning over. I'm listening for any unusual noises. If I should hear anything unusual, I would turn that off immediately. Okay, so I'm watching my gauges. I'm also looking at my thermometer. Got a thermometer on the wall. It's kind of tough to see. See if I can get it to pick up the... There we go. We can see the outside temperature right now is right at 70 degrees. It's overcast today, so the temperatures are cool. Do not do that. So, that should put my low side system pressure somewhere around 30 to 35 psi, and I'm watching for the high side then to climb somewhere up to 180, 190 psi. I'm going to feel my can, give it a little shake. It's still got refrigerant in there boiling off, so I'm going to allow this thing to run until my first can is completely boiled off. When that can's empty, I'm going to shut my valves. I'll shut the valve on the can, and I'll remove the charging hose. Okay? If I don't shut the valves, I would just be letting all that refrigerant back out. And I don't want to do that. So, for right now, I'm going to continue to let this thing idle. Keep watching my compressor, keep listening for anything out of the ordinary, and see how far this climbs until my first can's empty. So at this point I'll put you back on pause again until I'm ready to switch out cans. Good?
Yeah, we're going.
Oh. Alright, so my first can's empty. I can feel there's nothing left inside. I was watching in the gauge, in the sight glass and the gauges, watching as the refrigerant made its way up and down, up and through there, and I could see when there was no more left. I couldn't see any more refrigerant passing through. As I was filling it, I could take the can and turn it upside down for a few seconds and watch the liquid make its way into the bottom of the sight glass and boil off before it made its way into the low side. So like I said, we do not want to slug liquid right into the low side. If that liquid were to get directly into the compressor and it would try to compress it,
We'll need a new compressor.
We're going to need another compressor. It's going to break. Can't compress liquids. So I have my low side gauge closed. I'll double check, make sure my high side's closed. I never even opened it, so it should have been. And it was. So close my low side. That way my system is isolated from the center charging hose.
Close the valve, unscrew it.
I close my valve on my can.
Screw that can on. I'll throw it away.
And I'm going to Take my hose off. Okay.
It goes that
Hold
way.
the hose.
Oh, that's cool. Oh, that's cold.
Okay. All right. You still filming?
Yep.
All right. So I'm just gonna wipe the end of my valve off here. I'll take my valve off can number one.
Number one.
Number one.
One.
And I will screw it onto can numero dos. You gotta be careful with these little valves and these little cans because the threads on them are pretty finicky. I will put the hose on can 2, right? It's got oil on it. Got pag oil all over everything. So make sure that's screwed on there good and tight. No leaks. I'm opening can 2. You can hear it pressurize the line, pressurize the charging hose. Okay. I'm going to leave that sit upright. Come over here.
Open the valve.
I'm going to take this hose and start to loosen it.
Purging
See,
it.
it's purged. Purging any air that
Out
made its
of the
way into
system.
that line while I was changing cans. I want to purge that air, any air and any moisture that it's holding, I want to purge out of there. It's a very humid, overcast day, so I don't want any of that moisture making its way into my air conditioning system. All right, so I'm set up here. I've got the second can ready to roll. So if you want to hand me the camera, you can put that empty can down. You can go start the car, okay?
Yeah, I'll start the car. Oh, shut up.
Okay. Got a little bit of lifter tick, that's no big deal. Okay. There we go, my compressor's kicked on. It's going to start pulling down the low side. Low side's coming down. As the pressure drops, that was about where it was at when I finished the first can. So I can open the valve to my service port, and I should start watching that gauge climb again. And when that gauge gets up to 35 on the low side, I'm going to close that port. I'm going to close that blue valve and see how the system behaves. Alright, so that's about where I'm at. I'm going to go ahead and pause you guys again until we're finished up. You can hit pause. I didn't hit pause.
One.
Okay, so we got our second can in. Second can is empty. Valve is shut. Service port valve is closed. I've been watching my compressor. I've been listening to it cycle on and off. It's been cycling normally. The pressure did come up a little bit more. It's not quite as high as I thought it should be, but the system only called for 25 ounces. We've got 24 in. And at this rate, I don't think the extra ounce is going to make any difference. So, the pressure's running fine. My pressures are holding steady. And the most important thing, I'm going to check my thermometer. See if you can get a view. And if I turn the light off, I don't know if you can see it. Nah, can't see anything. The green mark there is at 40 degrees. So right now, it's been blowing a steady 45-degree airstream for the last 5 or 10 minutes. And I'm happy with that. Here you go, buddy. So, I'm happy with that. Everything's working normally. And I think that about wraps up Project Freya. Everything's fixed. It passed its emissions inspection, passed its state inspection, air conditioner is blowing cold air, radio works.
Hang on, move real quick.
It's time to hand it off. So, there you go. Thank you, Henry. They get it. They get it. So,
Like and subscribe.
that's about the end of this. Hope you guys learned something, what to do, or maybe what not to do. I guess our next project will be putting a new convertible top on a Mustang, so if you're interested in checking that out, check back with us in a few weeks.
Tune in a couple weeks, folks.
We'll see what we got done. Well, till next time, folks, we'll see you later. Take care.